Mom always said that Nana was psychotic, and right after Tommy was born, Nana got really upset when Mom made some boundaries. I've never witnessed a more sour woman in my life, as her face puckered up and she shook her head at the new rules. Nana said she would try to tolerate that kind of nonsense and stormed out the front door. The days after, I could hear Nana and Mom arguing over the phone about some rule that shouldn't have been stated in the first place, like how often she gets to see her grandkids. And since Tommy has been born, it's been cut from every weekend to once a month. Mom would tell Nana that her craziness was raining down on us kids, and that it was time to introduce more logic into our minds than witchcraft and stargazing. I was crafting dolls out of twigs like Nana taught me when Mom broke and made the call. That's when Nana started coming over for any excuse to see Tommy and me. And her tricks at first always worked as Nana wiggled her way inside and into the family room where Tommy and Dad were sitting with me on the couch. Nana always brought us goodies when she came over too. Nana always made some kind of fresh baked pastry and brought them over with her, and the recipes I knew came from her special little book with a leather red cover that Nana keeps on the top shelf in her kitchen. Everything Nana baked was mouth-wateringly delicious, and not even my parents could deny the sweet pastries that Nana handed out, still warm from the oven. Once, she brought her specially made chocolate chip cookies with a nostalgic taste you can never quite put into words. It was like you had a memory intertwined with this particular taste, and your mind just couldn't grasp what it was. Whatever the memory was, it made everyone feel warm and loved. Nana also made a special pie from the recipe in her secret red book that gave your brain an overload of endorphins. And the positivity that broke free from that delicious blueberry pie made everyone get in a good mood, even if you were feeling the worst in your life. It was like her baking was magic, and with spending so much time with Nana, I definitely believed in the wide stretch of imaginable wonderments, such as working spells and potions meant to kill. Nana spoke to me about everything. Mom noticed Nana's sporadic visits, and she began putting an end to that. For if she no longer meant every weekend, it sure didn't mean every other day at our house with baked goods and thrilling memories. Mom was always mad at Nana for showing up, but always let her in with the aromas of the pastries beckoning to her desires. This time was different though, as I saw Mom plug her nose when she answered the door and spoke with a very strong, authoritative tone, as I heard Mom say Nana could not come to the house anymore. Nana went away, throwing a fit and causing a scene on the front lawn, with Mom and Nana screaming at each other in a language I didn't know. So Mom was finally putting her foot down, and Nana was not happy about it. And for a while, we didn't hear from Nana. There was no knocking on the front door with a basket of bread or cupcakes, and there were no bribes of muffins and brownies. It was an odd feeling being away from Nana for so long, and I wondered why Mom felt so relieved about this. Nana was great, and she was so kind, with a warm, caring spirit. She had never wronged anyone who didn't deserve it, at least as far as I have witnessed her cast curses upon men and give poisons out to women from her shop. I also knew the people you did that to were bad and had a cursed spirit that needed to be dealt with immediately. Nana was tricky when it came to her sales, for she gave you what she thought you needed, not what the customer requested. And she did this by looking into their soul and feeling past their beating heart. I guess those are some of the reasons why we can't see Nana and why Nana can't be a big part of Tommy's life, like she was in my own life. I didn't like being away from Nana, and I would argue with my mom about going to see her. I couldn't drive yet, and Mom wouldn't even let Nana come get me. It was an unfair situation, and I didn't like not being able to see Nana as much as I always had. I just didn't understand. Then one morning, there was a soft knock on the door, and I looked out the front window to see Nana and her baked goods. I ran to the door before my mom could, and I welcomed Nana inside. Mom was furious until Nana handed her a pan of fresh banana bread, saying Tommy and I couldn't have it because it was too boozy for children our age, and that it was marketed specifically for my mother and father's consumption. Nana didn't stay long because she said she didn't want to cross my mom's boundaries, which she said with a venomous spat rather than a voice of understanding. After Nana left, I saw her peel out of our driveway as I waved goodbye with tears in my eyes. I watched the banana bread sit until the next morning when Mom and Dad were eating it with their morning coffee. I watched as they ate it slice by slice until it was finished, and I was left alone with my mother in the kitchen, and my dad went upstairs to get ready for the day. When I finished breakfast, I went to the living room and sat down on the couch before looking out the window and seeing Nana parked across the street, waiting for something. I was about to tell my mom, but I heard her start to scream from the kitchen. I bolted up and ran as I heard my father's cry from upstairs. My mother was in the kitchen by the counter, holding her face with her hands as she cried out. When she moved her hands, I let out a scream as blood poured from every exit her head had. She fell to her knees in agony, and I ran to her, afraid and wanting to help ease her agony. I then watched as the top of her head began to peel open like a banana. I could see her skull as the flesh began to fall strip by strip from her face to her midsection. Her skin slipped off her muscles and caused a puddle of sludge beneath where my mother sat, and her lower body skin was curling up as her toes twirled inward and her legs twirled into her knees. Dad fell down the stairs as all his skin had completely slipped off his body, and he was slipping all over with warm blood on his feet. His eyes were the most shocking of all, as they popped roundly out of his head like a bulbous balloon. I could hear Tommy beginning to cry in the living room, but I was crying too hard myself to comfort him at this time of true devastation. Dad slid to Mom, who was curled up on the floor, and he picked her up and sat her up against his side while he held her against an agonizing burn of pure muscle against the raw elements. I watched them whisper to one another before they died in each other's arms. That's when the front door flew open, and Nana came in to soothe my crying brother. She held him against her chest and held her hand out for me as she led me out of my home. She said we would pack up later, but right now, we needed to go to her house while she called the police about this tragic event. I never stopped crying, even as Tommy was soothed by his pacifier. When we got to Nana's house, she wiped my tears and held me against her tall, bony body. She told me everything was going to be okay, and that my brother and I would live with her from now on. That's what I wanted, wasn't it? To be with Nana all the time? I don't know how my parents died the way they did, but I always suspected the banana bread that Nana made for Mom and Dad, and how she told them it was made with extra love. I shivered as I looked at Nana and wondered if she was capable of doing such a thing. I didn't think about it anymore, as I locked the thought away and ran to Nana for some warmth and comfort. Nana adopted us, and she raised us to believe in the damned and the spirit man, which you can trade with if you have something he desires. Nana said we didn't have to worry about the bodies because the spirit man was going to clean up the mess. And somehow he did. As in the papers, the lettering read suicide homicide, and that's all Nana told me about the paper. I couldn't figure out how that worked with how devastating my parents' death had been, but I didn't think about it. I was just happy that we had Nana, and our Nana loved us so much. If you see a soda called Uncle Al's Pop at your local gas station, leave it on the shelf. I already lost a friend to it, and now I'm a victim to that evil drink as well. I guess I should start from the beginning. My friend Jenny had just picked me up in her red pickup truck and was driving me to her house. We were talking most of the way there, and our conversation transitioned from the upcoming Star Wars movie to there being more deer in this town than usual, to this new soda Jenny had bought at the gas station. "It's called Uncle Al's Pop," she explained. "Generic name, I know, but I've only drank a couple cans and I'm already addicted. The stuff is freaking delicious. Best soda ever. You'll have to try some when we get there." Sure enough, as soon as we arrived at her place, she took me onto her back deck where a blue cooler sat by the steps. Inside the cooler, mixed in with the ice, were a dozen pale green soda cans with the name Uncle Al's Pop written on each of them. She pulled out 2 cans, one for me and one for herself. "Try it," she said, handing me a can. I pulled the tab open, and a bit of soda fizzed out. It was a sickly yellow-green, a color I had never seen in soda before. Despite this, I remembered the lesson of Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. Don't judge food by their color. I tilted the can back and took a small sip. I regret taking that sip for 2 reasons. The long-term reason you'll find out later. But the short-term reason was that the soda tasted horrid, like piss mixed with ink. I wanted to spit it out, but didn't want to offend my friend. So, after much struggling, I managed to swallow the awful stuff. "What do you think?" she asked. I placed the can on the table. "Not my favorite," I said, wincing from the nasty aftertaste. Jenny shrugged. "To each their own," she said. She chugged down her can before tossing it into the recycle bin and going to the cooler for seconds. She clearly felt the opposite about the soda than I did. It didn't surprise me that much. Jenny had always been a lot less picky eater than I was. I had seen her tolerate strange dishes from durians to oysters. She always made fun of my inability to handle these foods, calling me tender-tongued. While she drank from her second can, I noticed a brown spot on her arm. The spot started out small at first, looking like a freckle that hadn't been there previously. Then, suddenly, it was the size of a quarter. Then I noticed a bunch of other brown spots forming on her arms and legs. Jenny?" I said. She lowered the can from her lips. "Yes?" she asked. I jumped as she gazed at me. Her face looked more elongated than it had previously. Her nose was turning black. Her ears looked longer and larger. I said, struggling to find words. I didn't need to. Jenny looked down and let out a cry as she noticed her now completely brown arms and legs. She scratched one leg, and I noticed what appeared to be fur on that area. Then she reached up and felt her face. Before screaming and running inside, I followed her to the bathroom, where she slammed the door and locked it. I put my ear against the door where I could hear her panicking. No. What's happening to me? This isn't happening. Help! Oh God! Help! God! Help! I felt chills run through my bones. I had never heard her this terrified before. She sounded like she was in severe pain of some kind. 10 minutes passed of her screaming and sobbing in the bathroom. Soon, the screaming was accompanied by banging. It sounded like a frightened animal was trapped in there, kicking on the door and walls. The screaming began to turn into a braying sound that reminded me of a wounded goat. What is happening in there? I thought to myself the whole time. What should I do? Should I call 911? Should I unlock the door and get her out of there? My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of breaking glass, which I instantly realized was the bathroom window. I ran to the living room and peeked out the window there, noticing a deer galloping from the area where the bathroom was. The deer turned and looked in my direction, and I swear to God, I noticed a strange expression in its eyes, an expression that resembled a mixture between fear, confusion, and sadness. After a few minutes of staring at me like that, the deer turned and ran off into the woods. The next day, I got a call from Jenny's mother, telling me that her daughter was missing and asking if I had any idea where she was. I lied and told her that I hadn't seen her recently. I mean, would you believe me if I told you I had seen your daughter turn into a deer after drinking a magic soda of some kind? She told me she'd call the police if Jenny wasn't seen by tonight, and I hung up. That's when I noticed the brown spot on my arm, identical to the one I had seen on Jenny. I touched it with one finger. It felt like fur. I realized to my horror that whatever was in the soda was affecting me as well. Clearly, my transformation wouldn't be as fast as Jenny's, since I didn't drink anywhere near as much soda as she did. But sooner or later, I would be a deer like her. And then I remembered the growing deer population. How many other people had drank that soda without knowing what was in each can? How many folks were now running around the town, losing their mind in the body of a hoofed animal? It's been about a week since my transformation started. I've locked myself up in my basement, since I don't want anyone to be freaked out by the mutant deer monster running around. Every hour, I feel my organs and bones slowly reshaping. God, it hurts. As horrific as Jenny's transformation may have been, at least it was fast compared to mine. Only lasting about 10 minutes as opposed to being drawn out over a week. My fingers are becoming hooves, making it quite hard to type. I also have to turn my head to get a good look at the screen, since my eyes are a lot further to the side than they used to be. I'm posting this here hoping that other people will heed my warning not to buy any of that cursed soda. Call a friend or family member and tell them about it as well. In the meantime, I wish that hunting season would come sooner. Then me, Jenny, and all of those other poor innocent people turned deer will finally be put out of our misery. The horror doesn't end here. Choose your next nightmare for more chills.